دعنا نلخص ما حققته حتى الآن. تمكنت من إحكام قبضتك على البلاد، وتمتعت بثروتك التي تمكنت من تكديسها. لكن دعني أنقل إليك الأخبار السيئة، شيء ما يهدد كل ما حققته. لا تتعجب، أجل، أنت لا تملك عضوية مدى الحياة في نادي الكليبتوقراط، فليس من الصعب فقدان كل مظاهر النفوذ والثراء الذي حصلت عليه، وأن تفقد كل حلفائك في لحظتها ستصبح منبوذا وفي مهب الريح خارج النادي، وساعتها سيكون مصيرك المحتوم معروفا ولا مهرب منه. لا تقتل الرسول الذي يحمل الأخبار السيئة، لا بد لك من معرفة حقيقة يمكن تلخيصها في سؤال: كيف يسقط الكليبتوقراط؟
My name is Xavier André Justo. I am a Swiss and Spanish citizen. I'm 55 years old. I used to be a banker in Switzerland. And after that, I became the director of Petro Saudi, the famous company in the 1MDB scandal. I met Tarek, it was in the mid-90s. So I was in my 30s, he was in his 20s. We became friends because we're living in the same small village. He became like my best friend. I joined Petro Saudi in London in 2010. They received a lot of money. Tarek became rich, so did Patrick Mahoney. They had access to a lot of money to fulfill their dreams, extravaganza, vices, whatever name you want to give that. And they were partying pretty much non-stop. And I said non-stop, it's almost every other day. At that time, I was living happily with my wife, Laura, and I wasn't interested at all in sharing those moments. And the more they were into this partying mode, the more depressed or aggressive they were.
They've treated him very badly in his estimation, and he was pushed out of the company and was very resentful towards them, and also very troubled because he had brought with him, to protect himself, certain company documentation. And when he looked through that documentation, he could see that there had been a massive kleptocratic fraud that had taken place against Malaysia.
And nothing, it seems, can come faster than the jailing of his predecessor, Najib Razak.
في بعض الأحيان يتسرب إلى الكليبتوقراط ارتياح منبعه يقين أن جميع جرائمهم ستظل حبيسة السر وخفية وراء جدران التكتم والتزوير. لكن قد يخرج أحيانا شخص ما لسبب أو لآخر بتلك الجرائم إلى العلن، كاشفا المستور، نافخ الصافرة، هكذا يسميه الصحفيون، الذي يشي بالجرائم ويسلط عليها الضوء، وهو أكبر مخاوف الكليبتوقراط وغريمهم الدائم. خافيير خوستو واحد من هؤلاء.
As a journalist, whistleblowers are always incredibly important sources of information. There are very few investigative stories that I've worked on which haven't ultimately depended on inside information that usually comes from a whistleblower. Their motives are, various.
One thing we know about kleptocracies is that when the house of cards begins to collapse, there's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of accusations, and the first people to accuse others of corruption are sometimes the most corrupt officials themselves. All of them are keen to save their own skin, are looking to paint others as bad guys, transfer blame and distract from the real trail of responsibility which may lead back to them.
And I think Xavier thought that if people knew the truth in Malaysia, that would be a way forward to improving, to seeing justice, and for the opposition leader to be vindicated. So I think he thought he was doing a good thing. And I think he was also seeking revenge against his former colleagues who had done him out of money.
يشيع اعتقاد بأن دور الصحافة الرئيسي هو إسقاط الأنظمة الديكتاتورية والكليبتوقراطية، ولكن للصحفيين رأيا آخر.
Journalists cannot take down the kleptocrats. This is not their job. Never overestimate the impact of the press. Press is not the fourth power. Press is not a power, but it can be a very strong motivator for people to take control over the country, or it's going to be call for action. That's what journalism is about.
It's not up to journalists to change the world. What journalists' job is to do is document everything so people would know. And when the information they possess will be overwhelming enough to move, to do something, to change things, and when other factors will be beneficial for that, then the change will come.
I think the wider public can be kept unaware of what's going on if you have centralized power, and if all communication is controlled, and if people who say things that criticize the government are criminalized, as most oppressive regimes, that's how they operate, as did Malaysia, then, you know, the kleptocrats can get away with just about anything.
Our job is to document. And no matter who is in the government, our job is to watch. And so they would not have excuse to say, we didn't know. Neither international partners of the corrupt regimes, nor the people of the country who supposed to vote and stand for their votes, should not have that excuse, we didn't know. They know because journalists write.
So that's why journalists bringing the facts are incredibly important. And it gave the facts, the information, the ammunition that opposition politicians needed to target and criticize the government in a way that they were not able to do before my blog and then wider international media, and then crucially the United States forces of law and order took on this case. And all of that gets reported back into Malaysia. And yes, in that way, I think it was absolutely crucial in overturning through the ballot box, through public opinion, what had been an entrenched regime for over 60 years.
The very fact that Najib actually lost the 2018 election is really because of the people's power, where the people awareness was there. They were very angry with the way in which our own resources, the country's resources, were actually illegally used to facilitate extensive lifestyle, a luxurious lifestyle. And so we managed to change the government in 2018, and this is the first time ever since 60 years of Barisan Nasional as a government. This is the first time that we managed to change the government.
تتشابه سمات الأنظمة الكليبتوقراطية إلى حد التطابق أحيانا، لكن طرائق سقوطها ليست على نفس القدر من التشابه، بل تحمل كل تجربة تمايزا واختلافا عن الأخرى، وأحيانا لا تتحقق العدالة أولا.
So in the case of Nigeria, we've not seen the same degree of comeuppance for its leaders. We haven't seen a revolution, an anti-kleptocrat revolution. We haven't seen the downfall of a president in office. Certainly the closest that we came to that was the death in office of Sani Abacha in 1998. And as I mentioned, he was a notorious kleptocrat, a pariah on the world stage, both for the human rights abuses that he inflicted on Nigerians, but also for his plundering of the oil sector and state coffers. So sometimes death comes to kleptocrats before justice.
هذه البلاد لنا، هواؤها لنا، ترابها لنا، سماؤها لنا، أرضها لنا، هذه البلاد لنا وسنستردها من اللصوص مهما كلف الأمر. سنستردها من قتلة الأطفال على أبواب المستشفيات. سنستردها من كارتلات التهريب على مرفأ ومطار بيروت. سنستردها من أوليغارشيا المصارف. هذه البلاد لنا وسنستردها مهما كلف الأمر. صرنا 30 سنة عم ندفع، اجا وقت هلا ان يدفعوا على الاثرياء ان يدفعوا. نقطة، انتهى.
وهي نحن انت بلد محكوم من اللصوص حاليا. الطبيعي، الغريزة الطبيعية لأي إنسان يكون بهالحالة هو أنه بده يسترد بلده من حكم اللصوص. يعني الاحتلال الخارجي سهل التعامل معه، أنه في مجموعة من برا البلد هي اللي حاكميتك، عم تفرض عليك شروطك كذا كذا. هاي سهل التعامل معها، كتير سهل تحديد الخصم فيها، تعمل هيدي الباينري اوبوزيشن. المشكلة لما أنت تكون حاسس حالك محتل من أبناء بلدك، هاي المشكلة الحقيقية.
ها قد وصلت جولتنا الحصرية داخل نادي الكليبتوقراط إلى نهايتها. خطوات متشابهة إلى حد التطابق، ولكن تظل النهايات تحمل تمايزها واختلافاتها. فالنهايات تظل في رحم المستقبل لم تكتب بعد، يتمناها الكليبتوقراط، هادئة تبقي على مكاسبهم من الفساد، ويتمناها كل الباحثين عن الحقيقة، عاصفة تطيح بالديكتاتوريات أو تحمل وعدا بتحقيق العدالة.